Hi everyone, I'm Brad and today we're going to have a look at feeder fishing for silvers. Now this rig uses braid, so obviously check that the fisheries allow that to be used. Here I can use braided mainline and we've still got the mono hook link, but I'll go through it all with you. So let's start off at the business end. We've got the rod and the reel. So this is a Guru Adventus 4000, so a nice smooth, good capacity reel. So if I do need to chuck that bit further at any point, then I've got the capacity to do that. Nice quick retrieve as well. And it's a Drennan Aqualite 11-foot feeder rod. Now these are lovely silverfish feeder rods, so it's the Ultra. So nice and thin blanks, really like compact well, the cast in, and they really play fish nicely. Things like bream and stuff, you don't bump many under your feet. So lovely, lovely rods. And 11 foot's a nice length as well, particularly on somewhere like this where I'm not casting very far, sort of like a smallish commercial water that we're targeting the silvers with. So casts of up to about 40 metres is, is perfect. Can go further, but I won't be needing to cast any further than that today. So as I say, on the reel I've got braid. Now this braid braids have a few advantages and disadvantages as well, and it's important to be aware of that. So braid, the best thing about it is there's no stretch in it at all. So mono stretches quite far, particularly when you're casting out and you've got all that mono out, it can stretch quite a long way, and therefore bite indication sometimes isn't the best. So for those little silvers, particularly in winter when they haven't got much energy, braid's quite good because zero stretch and it shows up everything on the tip. So it's a lovely way of fishing for silvers, and if you're casting any distance, then it's pretty much crucial really, guys. You won't see a great deal. Disadvantage of braid is that there's no stretch, so it can be hard to use. It can be hard to cast at times. Obviously it's super thin for the strength of it as well, so you have to be a bit aware of getting things like wind knots and sort of snapping off at the tip and things. Important to keep your braid wet, so get one of those atomizers like you get from a garden centre and keep it nice and damp so it makes it a bit easier to cast. With braid you tend to use a leader as well because it's quite harsh on the rod when you're casting out, so that mono gives you that bit of stretch and stops them crack off. So if you're casting far, use a leader which goes through the rings, and normally about 2 turns on your reel. But in my case this rig's slightly different, and that's why I was quite keen to show you. So this uses a short leader. The leader's probably about 6 foot, maybe a tad longer. The leader knot doesn't actually go through the rings of the eye, so it stays below. So this rig is just for casting short distances, because any further, and like I say, it might just have trouble with the braid going through the rings for casting purposes. But in this case, it's a lovely, really simple rig, and it will save you a bit of prep as well. So we attach the leader to the the braid to the mono leader. So there's a loop, just a normal figure of 8 loop in the leader, and the braid is a blood knot onto the loop. So really nice and straightforward, and really nice knot and strong knot as well. Going down, we've got the feeder on. So I use a quick train swivel, because again, it might be that I want to change size of feeder or even type of feeder. I could just flip a quick maggot feeder onto this if I want to change of sort of tact halfway through the session. And then it's free running, but there's some line stops above it. So some normal 2 gripper stops. I use 2 back to back. Sometimes if you're casting, particularly when the feeder's full, the weight of the feeder can sometimes pull the stops apart or push them further down the line. So 2 back to back just stops that from happening. And then going down, we've got another loop, and then onto that your hook link. Now the stops make it really easy as well to move it up and down, so depending on what type of venue you fish in and sort of what presentation you want to achieve, you can make this longer and shorter. Somewhere like a commercial, if there's a lot of fish in there, you can bring it quite a lot shorter, or if you're on a more natural venue, you want that slower fall of the hook bait, you can move it a bit further away, and it's really easy to do that. It doesn't damage the line. Them stops, they're tight but they don't mark it like a shot would, so you can move it up and down. And on the end, I've literally just got one of my pole hook links on. So it's only 6 inches long, this one. We're at sort of a commercial lake today with plenty of fish in, so I've just gone for a 6. If you feel that's a bit too short for you, or you're at a venue that it was more natural, so it might be a bit harder, then I'd recommend going a bit longer, maybe a foot. But the beauty of this is that I can just use the same hook links that I use on my pole, on my feed, and it's a really nice, easy setup. The advantage of using the leader up to that point is that you get the stiffness of the leader. So rather than using things like a twizzled loop or something to make the line stiffer, the leader does it for you. So it's a really, really nice straightforward rig. You've got the stopping the feeder coming close. You can alter it forwards or backwards, but you always use the same hook links, and it's super easy to change them as well, nice and short. So a really nice, simple, save on some prep presentation.